Nice Guy Stories by Redmond Dtes. Senior Nice Guy wanted to make me his princess. I apologize if this isn't quite the place for this, but I didn't know where else to put this, and that this might be long. TLDR at the bottom. This story took place 8 years ago, when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school, and was a super awkward, socially shy kid. I only really hung out with my one in real life friend and the internet friends I had made. I was also very into the TV show Supernatural like most girls in 2014 and had a huge celebrity crush on one of the angels in the show. This started my fandom phase, making original characters, self-inserts, and researching anything angelic I could get my hands on besides the Bible. Anyway, I was often in the library during lunches or in the morning before classes. The librarians were used to me, wandering aisles and copying down anything I found interesting in a journal. One of these days, while walking around during lunch, a guy approached me. He was blonde, around 6 feet, with some slight facial hair and thick glasses. We'll call him Jamie. Jamie smiled at me, asking me what I was looking for. Figuring he was a student library worker, and told him I was looking into supernatural and horror stories. He pouted a little and said, "Pretty girls like you shouldn't be reading such dark stuff." Despite being a thinly veiled insult, I was immediately blushing at being called pretty. I had never been in a relationship at this point, and no guys had really been interested in me because I was a brat in elementary school. I awkwardly flirted back with him, giggling like an idiot at all his weird bad flirts. Stuff like, "You're cute enough to eat up," and "You're so mature for your age. Are you really only 14? Jamie told me he was a senior, and asked me to meet him here again tomorrow, and I eagerly agreed. The age difference didn't bother me at first, since my mom was always into older men, and the actor I liked was 50 plus, so I viewed this as a healthier dynamic. After hanging out more, Jamie eventually asked me out, saying I was just too adorable to just be his friend, and you need a big, sweet guy like me to take care of you. I agreed without hesitation and told my friend, who we'll call Sam, about it. Sam seemed confused at first, asking more questions about him before she told me that he was her boyfriend's older brother. We both saw this as a crazy coincidence and fate. Jamie basically ignored me in the halls, but he chalked this up to how the guys in his grade were going to steal me from him, since I was so cute. I often skipped lunch to go understairs or in out of the way corridors to be with him and, yes, make out. My school was large, 3 floors, and we rarely got caught. If we did, the teachers would make us go back to the cafeteria then leave. A lady teacher pulled me aside once and asked me if I was okay, if he was being nice to me, etc. I beamed and told her everything was fine, we were just friends. Jamie had asked me multiple times not to tell people, especially not my parents, that we were dating, since no one will understand our love. I believed him, and to this day my parents don't know, since I repressed a lot of these memories. As weeks went by, Jamie started talking more about adult stuff to me, complimenting me differently. I was very thin back then and pretty well endowed. He would try to grope my boobs whenever we were together, commenting on how well they fit in his hands, that my body was perfect for him, and that he wanted to see me naked. I wasn't super uncomfortable with this at first. Having grown up on the internet, I was pretty desensitized to some of that stuff. I was more flattered a guy I thought was hot was so into me. I began getting more worried when he would take about getting a motel in town and taking me away for the night so he could take my virginity and show me how pretty girls get properly. That was when I mentioned something to Sam and she flipped, reminding me that he was 18, that it was illegal. The driving force was when she said, "What if your dad found out?" My dad is an extremely important figure in my life, and was dealing with major health problems at the time. Instead of telling Jamie no or that I was uncomfortable, I said that I didn't know how I was going to sneak out without my parents noticing since there are alarms on the doors. These were for my younger brother, who is autistic and would try to leave the house at random. When he heard about this, he started asking about my genetics. I told him I had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety a few years ago, and was on medication for it. This only made this worse. He seemed to view as a tragic princess with invisible demons and authoritative parents, locked away for a night to rescue me. I know this because he told me all the time that I was his pretty princess, and wondered out loud if I was a pillow princess and how submissive I would be to him in bed. I told him I didn't know, just that I read a lot of fanfic and assumed I was the bottom since I was a girl. He became interested in what fic I would read, and who it was of, ex-reader fic basically. I told him and he looked up the celeb I liked, claiming that they were both blonde with blue eyes, so of course I would be into him. He both pleased in the fact I liked him and was extremely jealous of this actor, asking me if I would run away and be his sweet little wife. I said no, laughing. It was a crush, and I was still realistic enough to know no 50-year-old man should like a 14-year-old. He still went on about it, and would tease me for liking such a weird and spooky show. Princesses like you shouldn't give yourself nightmares about such things. I finally put my foot down and told him that I enjoyed it, and didn't care if he didn't like it. He rolled his eyes and went back to complimenting me, telling me he would introduce me to better shows later on. No idea what those were going to be. Finally, we come to the big moment. For the past 2 months I had been starting to realize maybe Jamie wasn't the guy for me, and that I wasn't ready to lose my virginity yet. I told him I wasn't sure about this and wanted some distance, which he seemed to understand at the time. I didn't text him as much, which wasn't much anyway since we both were busy, and went back to hanging out with Sam and her BF at lunch. Jamie didn't like this very much, and begged to see me at some point, to talk things over. I'm a good guy and I need you. Please let me fix things. I finally relented and told him me and Sam were going to hang out at the mall that weekend, and we could talk briefly since I wanted to be with my friend. I also told him I was going to be dressed up, and not to make fun of my clothes. I was wanting to try cosplay for a while, so I borrowed some of my mom's clothes and did a half-assed, teenager with no allowance version of Castiel from the show. Sam dressed up in flannel and wore her brown hair down to be, well, Sam. We were at the mall, having a good time acting in character and wondering what to buy at Hot Topic when Jamie showed up. He took one look at me and started laughing, telling me I looked like a teacher and detective switched clothes. I was upset, but, true to my theater kid self, stayed in character and asked him why he presumed such a thing to an angel of the Lord. Cringe, I know. Instead talking to me about the relationship or anything, he just followed me and Sam around, teasing us and telling me I'd look hotter without the trench coat on. Sam went to the bathroom at one point, so Jamie took this as an opportunity to put his arm around me and tell me that now would be the perfect time to go to a motel. I told him no, and he pushed, "Oh, do you want to do it in the back of the V-stock instead? I want to gag you with that tie." I pushed him away and said, again, no. I told him that if all he was going to do was mock me or try to fuck me, to leave me alone. He got pissed, asking me if there was someone else, if I was sleeping with Sam or someone else, just ranting about being a great guy. Sam heard the commotion and came running out of the bathroom, and I just grabbed her arm and walked off. I remember him yelling, "I bet you masturbate to that stupid old man," and someone approaching him telling him to stop yelling. There were kids around. I avoided him at school and refused to speak with him again, no matter how many times he tried. Eventually he graduated and I never heard of him again. So yeah, I push down a lot of these memories and try not to think about it a lot. I don't even count this as my first relationship and tell people my current boyfriend is the only guy I've ever been with. Thanks for reading. TLDR, I went out with a 18-year-old when I was 14, and broke up with him after he was too sexual and made fun of my comfort show and hobbies. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. Have a nice evening.